Sentinels recently dominated the second best team in Americas, Loud, on a map that was once considered the most unpredictable of them all, Split, winning 13-4 with no sweat, with their IGL johnqt looking like the biggest genius in Valorant against the former world champions. But only a day later, they were systematically destroyed by the rookie team Gen.g. So what happened to the team that seemingly mastered Split against every other team in the world except this Korean roster? I'm going to dive deep first into the Loud matchup to see why they were so dominant, then switch to their recent match against Gen.g to see how their game plan was solved. So let's first look at how Sentinels were able to win both pistol rounds against Loud, and how they set up these early victories. We start round 1 with Sentinels heavily towards B, with johnqt keeping presence towards A, and Zellsis back towards spawn, helping field any attack if Loud decides to show aggression early, which is exactly what they do, with Sacy and QCK pushing B main. Sen is good at reading this and forces Loud to either continue to pursue them, which would lead them to a bad situation, or move back towards site. QCK is disciplined and decides to return before Sacy uses his dog, resulting in Sentinels having the slight damage lead without giving up any space. With this tiny advantage, they decide to prod towards mid, where the bulk of Loud are. And while Tenz drops, Zekken is able to trade, keeping the players tied. After seeing that defense, they look for the weak part of the site hold, where they pull a great mid-round call to push together back toward B main, while johnqt creates noise in mid, keeping Loud focused on this area, allowing the spike to slip onto site. Here, johnqt comes up huge to eliminate QCK, getting rid of their most explosive tool for the retake, as the team set up for a 3v3 post plan. With all this info, they're able to know exactly where Loud will be as they quickly take all of B alley as they plan, something that is absolutely critical to win this pistol, taking the fight here rather than falling back to a more default B post plan in B main, which would give Loud so much space to work with. Instead, being aggressive and taking this fight in this tight area can be the difference maker, especially when the right click exists and your Viper still has a molly. After that, it's just a spam fest, with Sen coming out on top. Even if 2Es didn't die from the molly, Sacy still had so much space to win the post plant easily. Either way, this well-executed pistol round started their best map on the right foot, and that continued into the defensive pistol round as well. They decided to play heavy in mid, while keeping johnqt towards the back of A, just to get information and be able to back off. They'd rather take early fights with each other while waiting to see where Loud is planning to attack, which would allow them to easily rotate to the site without Loud being really ready. So let's see how that goes.
Right, the stun. There's no connection there, so Les is able to just skip and hop away, but johnqt is just this watchful eye onto it. There's a gap into the smoke. Maybe a bit unintentional there, maybe just a bit rushed from 2Es.
Sen are also expecting there to be more.
While Loud screwed up by going so deep without the spike, allowing Sen to pinch them, they're able to quickly flood the site, swarming the entirety of Loud, leaving them with no hope towards A, forcing them to B, which Sentinels reads quickly, rotating fast enough to get the eliminations before they can even plant. This, like the last pistol round, was all about knowing exactly where the opposing team is by taking control of pivotal areas such as mid and ropes, resulting in Loud being caught off guard again to lose both pistol rounds, something that doesn't happen in the Gen.g game, but more about that later. Now let's look at how Sentinels are able to continue this success when rifles come into play. First, with a full buy round on their attacking side, where they end up going for a B hit, where one single mid-round call gave them all the difference they needed to put the game out of reach. Sen continues their setup from the attacking pistol round, but here we get to see what happens when they decide to push mid when there's space. When they scale up far enough behind the smokes, they send out the Seekers to just secure mid completely, allowing them yet again a pivotal area in mid/ropes, where they can still decide whether to hit A or B. They have knowledge that no one is pushing up from the flank of A due to the trip, and still have space for a split attack from B main with johnqt and Zellsis in lobby. And with still about a minute left, they decide to slow down and force Loud to either wait as well or get antsy and reveal critical information that Sen needs. They do the latter, as at 44 seconds left, Sacy uses his flash in B main to gather information. And this is the most important move in the round. Confirms to Sentinels that Loud's Sky is on B, and that's a huge deal because it most likely proves Breach isn't there. The same Breach who was aching to stop a site hit with his ult, specifically designed for retakes. The reason why we know this is because Breach and Sky are both the info gatherers of the team, and when there's still so little information that Sentinels have given away, they are forced to almost go back to default, meaning it would be pretty brain dead for Loud to put their two info gatherers on the same site. This gives johnqt and the rest of Sentinels all the reason they need to automatically decide to hit B, before Loud's Breach can rotate and ult. But this is what makes johnqt and his team geniuses, usually on this map, as they thought a layer deeper than just getting the site attack. They had the perfect counter to the breach ult, as Sacy stayed way off site, with no chance to get caught in it, so when Cowanzine uses the ult with the rest of his team, Sacy is able to time them perfectly in heaven to cut off the attack before they can even capitalize on it, winning another important rifle round in the process to end up taking a 9-3 lead into the first half. And this is something they're able to carry into their defensive-sided full buy, which only happened once really, since they're able to win their bonus to put them to match point so quickly. In round 17, we got another look at how their mid-rounding and microplays are otherworldly since johnqt took over the in-game calling. And with a 12-4 lead, Sentinels are really feeling themselves as they play a normal default, with them taking an aggressive approach towards A, with Zekken just disrespecting the smoke to eliminate less. With that first kill, Zekken is disciplined enough and moves back on site. With the player lead, Sacy and Zekken keep together in the back of A in case they need to give up the site since they don't have as much information. And unfortunately for Loud, right when they decide on attacking, Cowanzine gets caught in johnqt's trip, as both johnqt and Zellsis are set up for this play, as even if they destroy it, they can spam through the smoke and get a kill on him either way. And with that kill, they push QCK back and get a body for johnqt to ult to pretty much seal Loud's fate on this map. Now down to a 3v5, which quickly turns to 2v5 with a poor TB from 2Es that ends up at the end of Tenz's op. The round and map ends like it started, with Sentinels wiping Loud off the map completely. But all this perfect play was destroyed once they faced the newest kings of Korea, Gen.g in the upper finals. So what did they do differently to dismantle the previously untouchable genius of johnqt and the rest of Sentinels? Well, let's first look at the pistol rounds, where unlike against Loud, they were unable to pick up either. And right away it was clear why, as gen.g completely counter-stratted Sen's defensive pistol, as they're pretty sure most of Sentinels will just be in the mid waiting for information to do a quick retake together as they bide their time. Gen.g decides to send misinformation as much as they can until they get Sentinels to commit to A, thanks to Meteor pushing so far up and Sacy getting information that no one is in B main with his flash, giving Gen.g B site for free. And while Gen.g isn't aware just how much space they have to plant, they still get ready for the attack from Sentinels from alley, where they corral them and cause havoc with their util. It gets a little sloppy for both teams, but ultimately Gen.g ends up on top as they trade off each other with all the space they have on site, giving them an important first round. In this round, overall Gen.g were able to counter-strat Sentinel's patience and lack of space to force them into a full commit before they did, giving them this time to set up perfectly at the important choke points to win the round. And in a must-win attacking pistol for Sentinels, they set up for a similar attack to the Loud game, where they end up taking all of mid as a pivot point, but it's clear Gen.g watched the VOD back, as they hold further back on B's site, forcing Sentinels to instead commit one way or the other. They also keep Lakia right at the first choke point on A to not allow the lurking johnqt too much space. This ultimately gives Sen barely any information around the map, forcing them to push forward to possibly overwhelm someone on Gen.g to get an opener. Luckily for Sen, most things go right for them, as Lakia dies on his own, forcing Gen.g to change plans quickly, where johnqt finds the hole in the defense and catches Munchkin off guard to get the 3v5 lead. But this is where Gen.g just had the X factor all day, with Texture, who I had as my #1 player going into Masters Madrid, linked to the newest Exit Frag episode in the description. But he changed the round for them.
Oh, they'd have to be ever vigilant to see it, and now he's got an opportunity to trade it back further. It's huge from Texture, completely bamboozling them.
And miraculous plays like this happened all throughout the map, with them picking up an insane thrifty win during round 3, as Gen.g were able to group up as a team in mid with Sheriffs and take advantage of a mistake by Sen, quickly capitalizing off of it to get the first 2 kills and the rifles, which they were able to convert into a backbreaking eco. But it wasn't just highlight reel plays and counter-stratted pistols that got them past the seemingly unstoppable NA team. They were able to convert 7 of their 10 full buy rounds, as everyone on Gen.g were able to be disciplined in these high-octane rounds when Sentinels seek to take the space, rarely giving up a kill without someone trading them, with round 7 being a good example of this, as Gen.g's whole goal early in the round is getting Sen to lean one way or the other and find the empty site to get their Viper's Pit down to secure the post plant. Sentinels are disciplined though, as they set back on A and keep a good hold of mid and B, not reacting too much from the noise towards A early. Gen.g actually commits right into where Sentinels are holding more aggressively, but here's where Sentinels make a big mistake. Zekken is in the perfect position to let loose his showstopper and shut down this attack completely, but he decides just to spam and use his util, which works for the first kill, but aren't enough as the entirety of gen.g explodes on sight with an insane util combo of Meteor dashing back sight with the smoke, and a great Viper mollies to force Sen in awkward angles, resulting in them winning sight and putting down their Viper's pit before Zekken pops his ult. He gets one kill with it, but since there's no sight of the enemy, he's forced to leave heaven and fall into the Viper's pit where he's eliminated, ultimately giving them the round and a commanding lead. But overall, this full buy round showcases the more explosive and quick-sighted gen.g that's needed to beat this fundamentally sound Sentinels team, as gen.g is able to switch tempos better than any other team they had faced beforehand, as they not only took advantage of Sentinels' mistakes, but also when they made mistakes of their own, they're able to pull off the most insane double or triple kills to save the round for them, resulting in a scoreline as lopsided as this. Make sure you check out the second episode of the Exit Frag podcast, all about what is happening in the rest of Masters Madrid, so don't miss out on that,